Hello everyone, it's Judy from Coffee Cookies and Books, and what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about everything I read in the month of March. Had an amazing reading month. Can't wait to share all these great books with you. So as I alluded to in the opening, March has been my best reading month. Now, I haven't read the most books. I've read 10. All physical books, no ebooks. I have started a couple of e-arcs, but have not finished those. So, of course, will not be counting them in this month's total wrap-up. So what I read was I read 10 physical books. And out of the 10 physical books, I had 5 5-star reads. Yeah, 5 5-stars. And the thing is that, you know when you're reading through a book and you're really having a really good time with it and you just enjoyed it right from beginning to end, it might not have been the most earth-shattering story, but it was a fantastic story. And when you sit down and you think about it, there wasn't anything that you found wrong with it. There wasn't anything wrong with the characters. There wasn't anything wrong with the plot. It just was perfect for you. And that is how I would kind of gauge most of these 5-star reads. Now, there's a couple that kind of surprised me a little bit. And then there is one that, like, right out of left field, really surprised me. So I've had, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. And the interesting thing is there's 3 books that I've logged. And of course, we're going to talk about those ones first because they were my 3 lowest rated reads. Now, one of them was a 4-star, but the 2 3.5s, which were the other 2 books, were my lowest rated books this month. But they were still good. So it was just really great reading month, and I'm hoping April is going to keep that trend going. Fingers crossed, we shall see. But so I figure what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the ones that I've vlogged first, and then we're going to go into the remaining ones that are not 5-star, and then we're going to talk about those 5-star books because I've got 5 of them, and I've got a lot to say about the 5 of them. So let's start with what I vlogged. All right, so the 3 books that I vlogged, okay, and I will link the vlog below. It is, for the most part, a non-spoiler vlog, and if there's anything where there's a spoiler, I've put text over it so you can basically skip it and go right past it if you want to. But it's minimal, okay? So we have Red City by Marlow, Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle, and King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. So let's just talk about them each individually. So the first one is Red City by Marlow, and this is a story about these 2 young people, Sam and Ari. They meet when they are children. I think they're about 12, I'm just guessing, when they first meet. And it kind of goes from there to the point that they're 18, 19, and then it jumps ahead. So that's basically how the story goes. Now, there were certain aspects of it that I really loved, and there were certain aspects of it that I thought were a little slow moving. And then, but the overall story about these 2 kids, now what happens with them is they are both able to manipulate, I guess, alchemy in a sense. It's a chemical substance called sand, and they are they have the ability to transform it. And each of them is taken on by a different gang, and these two gangs compete for dominance. Okay, and that's where the story basically goes with them. And you can imagine that these gangs are violent, very violent, and what they do to these people, these two young people, what they do to all young people is pretty brutal. Now, somebody said, like they said it's like Romeo and Juliet. No, to me, it's not at all. Okay. Yes, you have these two competing gangs and you have these two people who are at odds with it, and they do very much care about each other, but they've also grown up very much apart after they hit that 18, 19, and they were separated for a number of years. So there's a lot that's happened to them in that time frame. Now, there is, I do say there is sexual content in the book, but how it comes about in the book, that was something that I had a bit of an issue with. Not the content itself, but the reason for it. Okay. And I did have a bit of an issue with that. I gave it 3.5 stars, enough that I would read the next book. I don't know how many books she's going to put in a series. I would think that it's probably going to be a 2-3 book series. I can't see it going past that, but the world interests me enough, and where it ends interests me enough that I would continue on from it. So that's where it's at with Red City. Okay. So then we have Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle, and it's not a very long book. What is it here? 228 pages. That was it. So it's super quick, and a lot happens in 228 pages. Okay. It is the story of Vera, who's your main character, and they are at a party to celebrate that she's getting a book published. Her mother is there. Her and her mother have an argument about the fact that Vera is gay, and it's with her roommate, and they're a couple, okay, and her mother can't accept it. So they have an argument right at the beginning, and what transpires after that point is complete chaos and what is referred to as an LPE, so low probability event, and it is an event that occurred across the world, and like 8 million people died. So that is where the book starts with a bang. Then it kind of slows down a tiny little bit, because what you get is you get Vera, I think it's a year after. It's just like a time after, okay? And she's living in her mother's house in Vermont, and this guy comes looking for her. And he is part of a new organization that was created because of this low probability event. What they're trying to figure out is what triggered it, I think, is, basically the essence of what he tells her. Anyway, so she doesn't want to have anything to do with it. I mean, she's even cut off Annie now. She has established that Annie survived the event, okay, but she's had no contact with her. So she's basically cut off her old life completely. So really, I think what happens is Vera finally decides that she's going to help this guy. And they end up in Vegas because there is something that they think is tied to this hotel group that is in Vegas that Vera wrote her book about. Now, Vera is a math person. Like she was a math professor. So she is talking about the probabilities of what's going on at this casino, and that something's up with them. And so this guy from this organization, LPEC, they call it, when he comes to Vera, he said that they're going to investigate and they need her to consult. So it kind of jumps off from there It's a lot of action all the way to the end. I thought that the explanation of the event and how it occurred and why it occurred was weird. Okay. The guy who came to get Agent Lane, there's something that transpires with them at the end, and I had a very strong feeling about how Vera dealt with it. Yeah, so it was a little bit off, but still liked it. So with 3.5, again, very similar to Red City, gave it a 3.5. I liked it just fine, and I liked it. This was my first book by Chuck Tingle, and I had not read the other one, Bury Our Gaze, I think is what it was. Not read that one, but I would read something from him again because I did really like it. Maybe not a 5-star. Doesn't have to be a 5-star. Like I said, anything that's 3 and up is like, yeah, bonus for me. So very, very good with that one. And the last one I read was King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. This is part of the vlog. This was the best book of the vlog. This came in at 4 stars for me. And what I liked about this book was, while it wasn't perfect, and I did talk a lot about what I felt about the aspects of that were written in the book. But beyond that, this book did not stop from beginning to end. Basically, you have the Carruthers family, and Roman, who's the oldest son, he gets a call. He runs a financial fix-it type company in Atlanta, Georgia. And he gets a phone call from his sister that his father is in a coma. So he's the owner of this company. So he's running the show, but he has to go back to, I can't remember the town, I'm trying to think of offhand. So he has to go back there. When he gets there, stuff going on with his brother Dante, and Dante owes money to people, and a lot of money. Okay. Now, their business, their father's business, it's a crematorium, and they actually, they do well. Okay. They have a very much a thriving business. But Roman has to figure out how to help Dante and not tell his sister. Like, they don't want the sister to know what's going on. And this deals with crime gangs, drugs, everything like that. So that is essentially the story of the book, and it's how Roman is trying to manipulate his way through this. Now, what I really liked about Roman's character in particular was he has this need to protect his sister and brother. Like, to them, they are his family, and family means everything. So that is essentially where that all comes from. Their mother disappeared 20 years before this event occurred, and that all comes into play, and the ending is extremely painful for everybody. What happens with the gang, like how Roman manipulates what happens with the gang with his mind, not with his physical strength. So never through the book does Roman ever exert himself. And from what I could gather, he's about a 6 foot. Like, he's not a small guy, right? But his strength and everything that he does is up here, okay? And the thing is that these guys running the gang are not as smart as they think they are. Everything for them is brute force, right? So I love that about the book. Yeah, so 4 stars. I think that the other book that I read from him, All the Sinners Bleed, I think I gave that 4 stars as well. So I would say that, that makes him an author that I enjoy very much. And I do believe I have one other book, Razorblade Tears. It might even be, is it back here somewhere? I don't know. But I I have that one too. And so I will definitely be reading that one as well. Can't wait. Yeah. So those were the books that were on my vlog. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pivot to the books. There's only 2 of them, and they are the ones that are not my 5-star reads. So these would be my, I think they're actually 4 and 4.5 stars. Okay, so before we start, I just wanted to apologize if the light keeps popping in and out. Over here is my window. I do have an extra light on over here because the sunlight, here it comes. Okay. In and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And it's constant today. And it's because cloudy, not cloudy, cloudy, not cloudy. There it goes again. See? So it's going to do this through the whole video. I'm sorry. I don't have control over it. And it's impossible to correct this sort of thing in the video editing software because it would take me hours. So, sorry. All right. So what we're talking about is we're talking about the 1 4-star book I have and the 1 4.5 star, because there's only 2, and then we're on to my 5-star read. So the 4-star was the Marlow Murder Club, and this is a murder mystery with much older characters. So this is what I really liked about this particular book. Your main character, which is Judith Potts, she is 77. So as it says on here, she's very happy. She lives in this old mansion, but she goes out for a swim and she witnesses a crime. And the crime is the murder of her neighbor. He's basically across the river from her, and she knows him. Well, they know everybody in the town, more or less. Most people do, because it is a small-ish town. Like, I wouldn't say that it is like a tiny, like maybe a couple hundred people. No. They have like a police department. They have everything like that. It's just, it's not this huge city. Okay. And it's called Marlow. And so that's why it's the Marlow Murder Club by Robert Thorogood. I don't know if I said that or not. So she is, of course, curious about what happened with Steve Dunwoody, Stephen Dunwoody, or yeah, he's the fellow that lived across from her. And of course, she just can't, she can't help but butt her nose in. Now, she actually, though, for 77 years old, she's sharp as a tack because she creates crosswords. And she's somebody who designs them for newspapers and things like that. So she's pretty freaking sharp, right? So she doesn't miss a trick or a detail. Like, she doesn't miss anything. And so she picks up on a lot of details. And Tanika, who is Tanika Malik, she is the DS, the detective sergeant, who is basically running the case. And I mean, I think she quickly realizes that Judith is sharp. But what happens is somehow the vicar's wife, Becky, and the town dog walker, Susie, they get involved with Judith, and they kind of, in a roundabout sort of way, I think it's because of a couple of the other victims, because there's 3 victims, okay? So because of a couple of the other victims, I think that's why they get involved. And let me tell you, the 3 of them, besides the fact that they're all pretty freaking smart, okay, I'll say that, and they're not young. I think that now Judith is the oldest at 77, but I think Becky and Susie are 50-ish, somewhere around there. And both of them, I think, are feeling a little underappreciated. A little, like, I think that they feel invisible in their own lives. So just how they come up with how it all occurred. But it's Judith and how her mind works Yeah, it was great. Now, the only thing that I found, so there were a couple of small things that knocked it down for me. So one was at the beginning, it felt formal, like the dialogue didn't feel natural. It felt a little bit stiff and formal and that kind. But that was maybe like, you know, it was a 300-page book, so maybe the first 70 pages or so. It was like once everything really started going, that kind of disappeared. And I don't know if it's because the beginning was a monologue and some of it was a monologue in Judith's mind, but then when she had to talk to and became more entrenched with the others in it, and the thing is, like, her point of view is not the only point of view in the book. So I think that what you got was then that stiffness went away. So that was that. And then at the end, I don't want to give it away. I was going to say something about Judith. I'm not going to say it because it'll give a little bit of it away. So it was just something she did at the end that had to do with solving it and everything that kind of dragged a little bit for me. But that was it. So 4 stars, good solid read. Really enjoyed it. I do have the next one in the series. Can't remember what the next one called, but I do have that one in the series. So you know I'll be reading it. Like 100% for sure. That's how much I enjoyed this book. It was just so good. So good. Okay. Like I said, good reading month, right? All right. So then the 4.5 star was Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes. And now I read Ghost Station by her, and I think that was a 3.5, 4 star for me. I think. I can't remember exactly what I gave that one. And I did really enjoy that one, but I think my problem with that one had been that the beginning of it, like the first 50% was really slow. Last 50% was like, wow, you know. This one was good right from beginning to end, okay? I only dinged this one down 0.5 star simply because it got a tiny bit repetitive, sort of in the middle, little bit repetitive at certain parts, you know, but still action-packed. So what you have is you have this woman, Haley, and she is running from something. So she's trying to hide. And it's a society that lives on different planets and that sort of thing, okay? There's still Earth, but there are all these other different planets. So, and she is trying to hide on a different planet. The people that she's trying to hide from do catch up with her. So now she's trying to figure out, well, where can I go to hide better, right? And she applies for this job on a relic ship. And now it's a ship called the Elysian Fields, and it was a ship that a bunch of people were cryogenically frozen and put on this ship to later be reanimated, but it never happened because they could never figure out how to reanimate them. It had been a tourist attraction at one point, and she actually went there as a kid on a school field trip. So all that kind of comes into play, and it's really kind of creepy. She gets onto the ship, and the guy that she's working with, like, she never sees him, but he's like super creepy. So you're never sure if he exists or if it's like a computer, because, you know, could be, right? Like, you never know any of that till the end. How she investigates what's going, eventually she works her way through all of the different levels and everything like that, and figures out that something is messed up on this place. And she gets a little bit of help from these holographic images of kids of the guy who created this place, okay? But they died hundreds of years ago in a shuttle accident. So there's that. But there's a lot more that goes on where they're concerned too. It was twisty, but never confusing where it was twisty. I really did like the flow of the book. I thought it flowed beautifully, and I really enjoyed all of that. I mean, but you're really dealing with one character's point of view, okay? And how you question her mind. I think she's a bit of an unreliable narrator, a little bit, because you do question, like, is she imagining some of this stuff, or is this stuff real? So that's that. The other thing, and I made a comment about this when I wrote the review, was that I thought that Cold Eternity was a weird title. I mean, I kind of got the idea that people were cryogenically frozen on the ship, but that actually, while it was part of it, that wasn't part of her story. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of, yeah, I thought that was a little weird. Okay. And normally I don't think about the titles too much, because most titles kind of fit the book one way or another, but that term actually never even comes up that I recall in the book, unless I missed it at some point, which I don't know. I did tab it quite a bit because I did really, really like it. So like I said, 4.5 stars. It was pretty damn near close to a 5-star. It was like, and yeah, I was almost at the point where I really wanted to give it a 5-star. I think I read this after I read one of the 5 stars. It was a science fiction. So it was like I really wanted, because that one was, we're going to talk about that. That was like one of my favorites. But yeah, anyway, so that is it for everything that didn't hit the whole 5-star mark, because we're going to get on our 5-star train. And we're going to talk about all the books that I loved in the month of March. All right, so here we go. It's going to be a bit of a wild ride. Like I said, 5-star books. And I'm going to I did put them sort of in order by my least favorite to my most favorite. Which is kind of stupid, because they were all my most favorites. But there were ones, like when we get down to, I would say, the first 2 are 5 stars, and the last 3 are probably above. Like, I would give them more than 5 stars if I could. So I thought we'd go in that order. Okay, so the first one is My Vampire Plus One by Jenna Levine. And this is the second book in the series. I do have the third book, so very much looking forward to reading the third book. This was just so much fun. And so this is a romance, and it's romance between she's human, and he is a very, 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 very old vampire, okay? And Reggie, who's the main male character, was in the first book, and he was best friends with the vampire in the first book. And I actually was not crazy about his character, okay, in the first book. I mean, I thought he was kind of an idiot. And I'm like, how is she going to make him? I was curious enough that's like, how is she going to make him a love interest? Okay, that was like my thought going into this book. She did a fantastic job with his character. He was still quirky and he was still weird, but in a lovable way. Like, you actually, like, I came to think, oh my gosh, I love this guy. Okay, because everything he did to help Amelia, who is your main female character. So Amelia's situation is that somebody in her family is having a wedding, and in order to get her mom and all of them off her back, she wants to bring a fake date. Okay? So Amelia brings Reggie, but Amelia doesn't realize that Reggie actually knows her brother Sam, who happens to be best friends with Cassie from the first book. Okay? So Sam knows Reggie's a vampire. Right? And the thing is, right at the beginning, okay, Reggie confesses to her that he's a vampire. She doesn't believe him. Like, she thinks it's a joke. Now, how they meet is purely by chance at the beginning of the book. They literally run into each other. Okay. And then she sees him in a cafe when she's there with her best friend, and they're talking about how she needs a date for this frickin' wedding. And what about that guy over there? And she realizes it's the guy she bumped into. So, like, literally, they don't know it. Like, they do not know each other, but they have people who they know who know each other. Right? So, you're going through all of this, and then it's like, even Amelia's parents are lovely, her mom and her dad. And Reggie loves her dad because her dad is like a history professor. I mean, like, wow, okay. And of course, Reggie knows a lot about history because he lived through all of it. Oh, yeah. It's just, it was really, really a lot of fun. Now, what did I give it for spice? I gave it a 3. I don't even know if it even, like, the spice is not something that super stands out in your mind when you think of this book, okay? What stands out in your mind is the kooky, crazy characters. It is definitely a rom-com. Like, when somebody says that it's going to be a rom-com, this is what you think it should be. This is what it should be, okay? This. Now, if it didn't have any spice in it, it still would have been a 5-star for me. It had the spice because their relationship developed to that point, which is fine. Didn't have a problem with that. Wasn't a ton of it, you know, that kind of thing. But it was open door. So it was not closed door spice. It was open door spice. But yeah. I mean, one thing that I have realized is definitely, you know, I love my romantic suspense. That's always going to be kind of my first choice. But when it comes to contemporary romance, love rom-coms. Especially if they're written like this. Okay? This is a rom-com with a paranormal element because he is a vampire. Now, I think the next book, the last one in the series, because there's 3 books in the series, is he's a vampire and she's a witch. So that's going to be even more interesting. Oh, and the other element of this is that Reginald is being targeted by a vampire organization that basically wants to eliminate him. But they are inept. It's the best word. Best description I can give them. So, yeah. Freaking fabulous, you know? It's like, my view is like, yeah, like, this is how a rom-com should be. Whether or not it has a paranormal element is irrelevant, you know. It just should be a lot of fun to read and be an enjoyable read. And I was not bored through any of the book at all. So that was why I liked it so much. And it's going to be the same thing for this next one, which I think might be a bit of a surprise because, you know what? When it comes to this particular series, which we're going to talk about next, it's like I see a lot of kind of, you know, some people like it, some people don't. Some people, you know, like they liked the first book. They didn't like the second book. There are currently 4 books, I think, in the series. And I have a 4. And let me tell you, based on this one, like, I can't wait to get to the next one. So it is Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maehrer. And it says, evil is back, look busy. Uh-oh. Now, I can't say a ton about this because this is a continuing story. But essentially, you have Evie, who she is your main female character, and she is the assistant to the villain in the first book. And then in this book, she becomes the apprentice to the villain. Even like how it starts to how it ends is so good. I just really enjoyed all of it. You know, maybe it is just that when I go into these books at times, and you know, that goes with any type of book. Doesn't matter what it is. Is this a thriller? Is it a horror? Does it accomplish what it's supposed to accomplish? Okay? Which is that from the beginning to the end of the book, I enjoyed all of it. And that's how I grade my books. Like right now, I am reading The Way of Kings, Brandon Sanderson. I am 200 pages in, okay? Now, this book is 333 pages. So that would be more than 50% of this book, okay? And I still don't know what the hell is going on in that story. Nothing ties together. I don't know what the relationships are with the people that are in the book, like all of that. And I'm 200 pages in. And it's a 1,000-page book. So to me, it's like, if you want me to stick around for 1,000 pages, you better well grab me right from the beginning. And if it doesn't grab me right from the beginning, which doesn't to say that it doesn't do that for other people, for sure. Like I said, there's a lot of people that hated this book. So I really think that it's just, it did it for me, and that's how it made me feel. Whereas I don't know about The Way of Kings and whether or not I'm going to finish it, which is a bit of a shame, but it just might not be the right book for me. And I've come to realize that there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it for any of us. We either like a book or we don't like a book, right? Yeah. Which is why sometimes it's like, even giving them star ratings kind of bothers me a little bit, because it's like, either I liked it or I didn't like it. Right? So that's that one. Okay. So, and that was a continuation. And then the next one is also a continuation. And it is sci-fi. Let me just pull it up here on my computer. And that is On Vicious Worlds by Bethany Jacobs. So this is the second book in the series. What was the first book? I'm trying to see if I can find it on my thing. Maybe look at the back. I don't know why I never do that. Okay. These Burning Stars, so it's book number 1. On Vicious Worlds is this one. And then there is the second one. The third one is out and I have it. So I will be putting that on my spinner wheel for my series challenge, because I do want to get the series completed if I can. Now, this series starts off with these particular characters who you have Chono and Six, Maehrer, June Ironway. There's like all of these characters were converging in this fight to essentially save this one group of people. And it's the people that had been destroyed by the people that control they kind of control everything, but I don't even know how to describe this. Is it the 70? Is 70? I think is what they're called. They create a substance that allows for space travel. So if you control these people, you control this substance. And that's what it all comes down to. Okay? Is control, and then you controlling the people. And it is like population control. So it's very politically oriented society, but there are different levels of that, and there are different powerful factions within that, okay? And they're all basically almost at war. They kind of complement each other, but then they kind of fight each other. It's a really weird organization. Now, in the first book, that was what, like, in the first book was super slow introduction into that. So it was like the first half of the first book was so slow. I almost DNF'd it. Then the last half of the first book, fantastic. It was like the action started, and from the point that the action started to the end of the book, loved it. This one, it was so good. Okay, so this picks up exactly, I think, 8 months after the end of the first book. I can't say too much because there's one part of what's going on in this book. Obviously, I liked it by how much I tabbed it. It was just so good. It was emotionally devastating. The first book was not. The first book was an emotional ride in the sense that you're hoping these people are going to make what they're trying to accomplish, what they're trying to do. That's what you're hoping in the first one. This one had heavy emotional parts to it. And the way it ended, I was like, oh my God, I want to read the next one. There's only 3. It's a trilogy. So, but I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. None at all. And I can say it's a science fiction book. If you like sci-fi, then I think you'll like this. Now, I don't know that I would say that anything is remotely scary, but it's a very suspenseful sci-fi. Like, it has that element built into it. There are battles, but there's no war. Okay. So you get where I'm coming from, right? Like, it's like there's a lot of crap going down, and there's a lot of moving pieces, and then you have like your main key characters that are part of it. It's just so good. Yes. Fabulous. Wow. Can't wait to read the next one. I can't remember what it's called for the life of me. It's on my shelf somewhere over there. They are in alphabetical order, thank God. So I will be able to find, where I have Bethany Jacobs' books all lined up over there somewhere. Oh, there it is. These Burning Stars and This Brutal Moon. See, I could see it eventually over there. So I can see where it is. I can't wait to read the next one. It's going to be so good. Okay, so now we're coming down to the last 2. And these 2 are my 2 favorite. These are 6-star reads for me. I would say On Vicious Worlds is pretty close, but these 2, 6 stars. And they couldn't be more different. So we're going to talk about the last 2 books that, to me, are like my top tier books, in that I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're probably going to be in my best books for the year. Both of them. One is self-published, and the other one is from an author that is well known. First one is X Marks the Stalker by K.N. Wilder, and this is a self-published book. The minute I finish this, I bought the next one. There are only 2 so far. I expect, based on the number of the guys that are in the Hemlock Society, which is what the series is called, that there's going to be 5 or 6 books in total. The idea behind this book is you have the Hemlock Society, and it is a group of guys that they are all serial killers. But serial killers with certain morals, but still serial killers. And so the book opens with a scene where Xander is cleaning up the scene, taking away the cameras and all this stuff like that, for Calloway, who's one of the other guys, okay? And Oakley, she shows up because she's a nosy reporter. So she's like a crime reporter, crime journalist. And so she shows up to this, what was this gruesome crime scene that was left by Calloway and his signatures. And so Xander basically follows her. He is fascinated by her, but he also is like, well, do we need to eliminate her? Because he finds out that she's figuring shit out about this society. But there's something else going on there, stuff that's going on in the background that she's doing, and it has to do with her parents, okay? Because they died when she was young. So there's some stuff going on, and she's investigating a guy who's technically untouchable. She realizes quickly, because she's pretty freaking smart, that he has put cameras in her house and all this stuff like that. So she knows somebody's watching her. She doesn't know initially who it is. And eventually it all comes to pass that she meets him. What I really, really, really liked about the book was how it moved all of the puzzle pieces, kept you thinking, kept you going. Both their characters were pretty dynamic and quite likable, both of them. The other thing was that while they were kind of attracted to each other, like she was like, you know, I don't know. Like she didn't know for sure if he was what he was. She didn't know for sure, but she's like, why is he helping this so-called killer that doing these signature killings? But then there's some underlying stuff that's going on with that too, okay? And I mean, ultimately, it gets spicy, you know, as it goes on, but the spice is not the key part of it. And there is quite a lot of suspense in the book, which I loved. Like, absolutely loved the suspenseful part because of what she's doing and who she's digging into. Just how she wrote all of that was fantastic. Now, the other thing I did want to say is I love the design of the book. I mean, look at how they did this really great creative kind of sprayed edges. They're sprayed edges, but because self-published, they're designed sprayed edges, right? So great. This is so good. So the next book is, hang on one second. I'm going to get the next book. It was literally just off camera. So Knife to Meet You is the next book. And this is Calloway. So the guy who was did the first scene, did the deed in the first scene in this, who Xander was kind of backing up, okay? He's the main male character in this one. And then there is Jaya Klein has mastered the art of the permanent goodbye. Seduce, poison, and the problem is solved. But her latest target, the infuriatingly gorgeous Calloway Frost, keeps surviving her best efforts. So in this one, clearly she's a serial killer. Okay? Now, in this one, Oakley does know about them. She does get invited in with them, but she decides to stay on the fringe as a crime reporter because she thinks she can actually do more good there, and she doesn't want to know what they're up to, all right, necessarily. So she decides to keep herself on the fringe. Now, this one might be a different story altogether, is what I'm expecting with this one. So that's the new one coming. Can't wait to read it. This is the one I just read, and it's like, oh my God, it was so good. It really was so good. So now we're going to come to the last one. It was the last one I read in March, and was an unexpected 5-star for me. because I didn't know how I was going to feel about this book. And that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I bought this when I bought Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil from Book of the Month. Book of the Month. This had been their top pick for 2020. So it was the Book of the Year finalist for 2020. And it came available again when Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil last year came out. So I was like, well, you know what? Let me grab both. I've read V. Schwab, but not either of those two. Now, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, I enjoyed it very much. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. So I did really like that one. But the historical element of that one was probably the part of it I liked the least. Although I think it was more, based on this one now, I think it was more how she structured it in that book. Because the structure in this book, it's the same, okay? You're jumping back and forth from the past, which I think is 1600, 1700. France, 1714. So you are jumping between France, 1714, and 2015. So you're going between the two, same character, right? So you're getting Addie and what happens to her and how she becomes invisible, okay? And then you're getting Addie in the future and how she's lived through 300 years like that. Throughout the back and forth, you're getting the elements of everything that's happened to her as she's gone through it. Now, was it fast-paced? No, but it never ceased to not keep me wondering what was happening to Addie. Like I just wanted to keep reading and keep reading and keep reading. Okay, now we're going into the future. And then we got a second point of view in the book. And I don't want to say any more than that because it is super important to the story, this second point of view. Super important to Addie. Don't want to say too much about it, but it's somebody she meets who becomes super important that you get that separate point of view, okay? And this was a 6-star read for me. I loved it from beginning to end. Was not bored, did not want to skip through, flip through to the end, never had that urge. I wanted to just entrench myself in this book and really, really, really read it. Having said that, I can see why some people would think that it was boring and slow. I can see why some people would think that. I just freaking loved it so much. I mean, I can't say enough good things about it. And it makes me just like, even to the end, when we got to the end of it, and what happened at the end, and it was like I wanted more. I wanted more of Addie and her life. So, yeah. So that's where I'm at with this. Now, it's interesting because I have one of B.E. Schwab's books from the 3-book series, Darker Shade of Magic, whatever. The middle book is the one that I'm reading. And that's on my TBR for April. Thing is, I don't know if I'm going to get to it. So, well, actually, no. Is it on my No, I think it's in my Love It or Lose It. Yeah, it is. It's in my Love It or Lose It, which means it's definitely going to get read as a follow-up series. So, yeah, because I want to get that series done first, too. I want to get that one done, too, because I did really enjoy the first book. So those are my reads for the month of, let me pile them all together, okay, so that you can see them all. So there's my 5 stars, and there are all of my other ones that I read. That's it. 10 books, thoroughly enjoyed, and all I can say is I hope April is just as good. I hope you guys had a wonderful March. And I would love to hear if any of you read any of these, what you thought of them. Always like to hear other people's opinions of books. And yeah, so that's it for me. And we will see you in the next video. Not sure what that's going to be, but for sure, probably the May releases video. Yeah, because I have a bunch of books all lined up for that. And there's some really great releases coming out in May. So that's probably going to be, I would think, the next video, or pretty close to it. So we'll see you then.